Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Now, I'm not going to drag this one out since other Steve at Gamers Nexus, already covered this yesterday. I wasn't actually going to make a video about it, but a lot of you did request overnight that we cover the Principled Technologies update, and I felt, well, it would probably be pretty poor form not to give credit where credit is due. So yesterday, Principled Technologies updated their PC gaming processor study to include the creator mode results for the 2700X, as well as the Threadripper CPUs, though we aren't as interested in those results. I'm not going to give any backstory here. I'm just going to assume that at this point you've watched the previous two videos. Right, so in the last video, I did say I looked forward to seeing the updated results because they'd better believe that enabling the other 50% of the 2700X would lead to significantly different results. I honestly wasn't sure if Principled Technologies would update their results at all, and I thought if they were going to, they'd probably wait till around the time that the independent reviews go live, which will happen later this week. Anyway, to their credit, they have rerun the tests and updated the results. I'm still not entirely happy with the test methods that they use, but really that wasn't my big gripe with all of this. It was sort of just adding insult to injury, or putting a bit of salt in the wound, if you will. And my biggest issue had to do with how Intel handled all of this, and really what they tried to get away with. I might talk a bit more about Intel at the end of this video, depending on how ranty I'm feeling, but let's just have a look at the updated results first, because that's ultimately why we're here. Please note that they are still placing AMD's Ryzen 7 processor at a thermal disadvantage, which will shave off a few frames here and there, so it's not a true apples to apples comparison, plus there's a lot of other issues with the testing, but that's one issue. The 9900K results are also mixed from the previous test. They seem to have rerun a few games like Fortnite. They probably had to run. I think there was an update between the initial testing and the updated testing, so that will usually break the replay system, and it means you have to get another replay and start all over again, so that will change the results a bit there. A few other games were retested that didn't seem to need a retest, so yeah, a bit strange, and the results moved around a little bit, so bit odd, but I don't think there's anything too crazy going on there. They also updated the details for Ashes of the Singularity, say they're now using the Crazy preset, though the results seem very similar to what we saw previously with the High preset, so I'm not sure what's going on there. The 8700K also appears to be performing slightly better, almost as if MCE is enabled, though they say it isn't. Again, it's all a bit odd, and I really trust these results as far as I can throw Tim, and while he isn't a particularly big guy, I still probably can't throw him that far. Anyway, previously, this is what they found when comparing the upcoming 9900K to the 2700X using the game mode. On average, the new Intel CPU was 25% faster, with 3 instances where it was faster by a 50% margin or greater. Now, the updated results using the creator mode, which doesn't disable half the cores, the 9900K is seen to be 17% faster than the 2700X on average. You might think that's not really a big change, not much of a big deal, it is just 8%, but overall an 8% change across 19 games is quite large, and now there isn't a single title where the 900K beats the 2700X by a 50% or greater margin. In fact, short of Counter-Strike, a title that you can play on a Core 2 Duo, we see less than a 30% performance advantage going the way of Intel's new 8-core desktop processor. So yeah, down from about, I think it was 56%, that's obviously a significant difference. Anyway, 17% faster on average certainly seems like a much more realistic figure, certainly based on the testing we've done previously with the 8700K. And for the most part, it really was just the rather odd results in Ashes of the Singularity, Warhammer 2, Gears of War 4, and Assassin's Creed Origins that had us a bit concerned. Obviously, disabling 4 of their 8 cores in these core-heavy titles had a major impact. The results do look more plausible now, and while there are still a number of questionable choices, things look far less absurd than they did originally. Later today, I'll be releasing an updated gaming benchmark comparing the 8700K and 2700X with the RTX 2080 Ti, so that will be worth keeping an eye out for. As for Intel, well, what can you really say? They are ultimately to blame for all of this, and it appears they still don't get it. Well, I'm not surprised by that, but it's disappointing to see that they still don't get it. Despite originally claiming that there was absolutely nothing wrong with the initial Principled Technologies benchmarks and that they were seeing the exact same numbers in their test labs, well, that was obviously complete and utter rubbish. You can't say that they both made the same mistake. Of course, if they were also deliberately gimping the 2700X by disabling half the cores in their test labs, then sure, you could argue that the 2700X was performing within that spec. Ignoring all that, they went on to say the following. The results continue to show that the 9th gen Intel Core i9 900K is the world's best gaming processor. Like anyone ever questioned that that would be the case. In fact, no one questioned any of the Intel results. It was the ridiculously low 2700X results in a number of the tests that set off alarm bells. No one expected the 2700X to beat or even match the older 8700K, but it sure as hell isn't 50% slower in a number of titles. Then they wrapped up by saying, "We always appreciate feedback from the tech community and are looking forward to comprehensive third-party reviews coming out on October 19th. How about this, Intel? Next time you cut the crap and just leave it up to the comprehensive third-party reviewers to do their job." Seriously, if we ever see this pre-order stunt again with any kind of manipulated benchmarks from a third-party paid source, the entire tech press had better come down on Intel like a ton of bricks. I was seriously disappointed with a few of the really big media guys in this industry who either didn't understand what was going on and didn't bother to take the time to research this subject properly, or they simply just didn't care. I feel you owe your audience more respect than that. Placing the blame on consumers who pre-order or don't research thoroughly enough it's not good enough, and frankly, it's a cop-out. If you don't want to get involved in this sort of thing, that's fine. Don't. I can certainly handle that. But if you do want to get involved and clickbait your videos with this issue, don't in any way defend or try to justify this crap or diminish its importance, because that's not really helping anyone. Either research it and address it properly, or just get on with something else. I don't for a second believe that this was incompetence or a mistake. Intel knew exactly what they were doing. Come on guys, let's be real about this. And had Gamers Nexus or us here at Hardware Unboxed said nothing, I wonder just how many headlines we would have seen claiming amazing 9900K performance that's up to 50% faster than Ryzen. Fact is, guys, this thing costs $530 US, at least $530 US or 860 Aussie, and that makes it at least 80% more costly than the 2700X in both those regions. And well, PT just told us it's offering less than 20% more performance in games. So yeah, you can kind of see why Intel went about things the way they did during the pre-order period. Finally, I am no AMD fanboy. Anyone who's watched a reasonable amount of our content will know we only look out for the consumer, and whenever one of these big companies get out of line, well, we pull them back into line, or at least we attempt to with the small amount of influence that we have. Now, when we review the 9900K later this week, there will be absolutely no mention of this debacle. We will be reviewing the product based on its own merits, so don't expect any further bashing over this mess there. So I don't want to see any real AMD fanboys pretending like we're sweeping this under the rug. We've covered this, it's done. Anyway, we can now fully close the book on this situation. Intel tried and failed miserably this time. Hopefully they won't try again, but, well, yeah, probably don't need to say too much on that one. But if and when they do, we'll be racing Gamers Nexus to smack it down once again. Hopefully next time we'll have some seriously big hitters backing us up. You can only hope. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and if you appreciate the work we do here at Unboxed, then consider supporting us on Patreon. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Steve. I'll see you again next time.